Hey, this is Max. Welcome back to another CSR2 video. I'm here with the SF90 Stradale. This is the other half of the Italian royalty lock-ins. The two cars are both acquired through gold keys, currently in the rare imports. This is the second car, the SF90. This one surprisingly turned out to be even better than the 296 GTB when it comes to performance point to EVO ratio and its ability to be relatively useful in live racing. I'm going to give you my setup that I'm using right now, which is in the basically 11-second lobby. Again, this is a no stage 6 setup. I got this car just recently and started building it, so I actually do not have some of the higher level upgrades, but based on what I have now, it's pretty effective. Stage 5 transmission, no engine, 3 turbo, 3 intake, 3 nitrous, and 3 body and 3 tires. So it's a bunch of 3s, 0 and 5. And this puts it right at a very specific dyno. Mind you, with this car, tuning it to the highest dyno, I shouldn't say that. The quickest dyno with the highest EVO isn't necessarily the easiest to drive the car or the best for the car. Certainly, this car with a much higher final drive will see some really great numbers. As you can see, we're looking at 10.4s, or even higher to the point of 10.3s with simply pushing the final drive. However, 348 dyno does not mean it's easy to actually reach that time with the car. In fact, the shift pattern is somewhat strange when it's so quick and so many, and I find it more difficult to actually hit dyno. So this is why I took it easy on myself and put it to here where it's 10.657. With this, when you drive the car, you're going to get a 0 RPM drop because, again, the final drive is relatively low. But that's really not an issue because it actually gives you a good start where you can just hit the nitrous and ride it through. This is where you're going to see the car actually do better than its dyno may suggest. Is this essentially a down tune? Arguably, it is somewhat of a down tune. It's not significant in beating dyno, but what it does is put it in a lobby where it's competitive and it can still run a little bit quicker than the lobby, and that generally makes the car viable in live. So we're going to take it into live for a few quick runs, and that would kind of document what the car is capable of. To set it into specific lobbies, you do have to run the car. You have to run it relatively carefully, and you also have to be aware that some cars are going to be quicker than others in this lobby. Cars like this, which depending on their setup can be a dyno buster, could potentially be challenging, but they also run relatively high performance points, low EVO, which generally means they're not going to lobby as well. So they are probably in here with their 11.2 dyno, running something like a 10.9 to 11.1, and it's not generally that I would say competitive. So this is why the F12 3-star really isn't seen as often except for by newer players in live, simply because it's just not that competitive a car. On the other hand, this car and this car here are highly competitive, while the Nissan Z is competitive when you lead it. Without stars, probably not as competitive. Now, I'm obviously showing a lot of advantage here because I'm grouped in with relatively new players. If I was with veteran players with better setups and better cars, it would be a far bigger challenge to run against them. However, as it sits right now, I am able to basically run relatively conservatively and easily pull out wins. And again, it's about the 11-second lobby to 11.2, which is what I normally see in here. You could also get a few faster cars. The quickest one I ran in here ran a 10.6. But that's again a down-tuned dyno beating, not a down-tuned, just a dyno beating car, which I anticipated it could run substantially quicker, and it was able to. But most people in here would not be running that quick. So another quick run through. I might have touched 10.9 with that. Oh, maybe not. 10.042. Okay. So just quick demonstration of what typical players may be running in here. Now I'm hoping for one of these guys to be available. For example, this one, I'm going to challenge him. I anticipate this car, if driven properly, should run 10.8s in this lobby. Again, if I can challenge him, it doesn't look like I'm able to. Let me try it one more time. If I don't see a back button pop up here, that means he can't accept. So it becomes a matter of sitting there and not getting anywhere. So he can't accept because he won't see an accept button because I don't have my back button here. So we're just staring down each other's countdown timers. Here I can back out. And because of all the back and forth, I was actually moved a little bit into a different group. But this is actually the car I was talking about earlier that I raced. I think this is a slightly bumped room within the same, quote, overall lobby. Doesn't really hurt my feelings. I'm going to jump back in and do 1 or 2 more races just to document the car. But an effective live racer because, again, it lobbies pretty well, and it can race against pretty good cars. Now, this one, though, depending on how he has it set up, either he's high Evo, which means he won't beat dyno, or he's lower Evo, but he has a dyno buster set up. So it depends on how he has it set up, but I'm going to go ahead and take him on full blown and see what happens. Again, if I'm pushing my car in 4th gear and not able to stay ahead, then that is an issue, because that means his car is pretty fast. In this case, I think he's running not so much a dyno buster as he is just running a higher Evo setup. But again, I moved into a slightly quicker lobby after those 11.0 runs to probably 10.9 range lobby where most of these guys are. Here's another car that could be very low performance point high Evo, but again, hard to beat dyno unless he has it set up as a dyno beating car. So that's the thing about some of these cars in here. You really question how they have it set up, because it all depends on their actual setup, which makes all the difference in whether the car is going to run really fast or it just runs okay. All right, so he slowed down to 11.0 because he knows he's running too fast. It's all right. 10.8. I'm on a 10.67 dyno. 10.8 is not going to hurt me too bad. But certainly I don't want to run it too often. So you notice that little bot that disappeared real quick. That usually pushes in cars that may be quicker than what you just ran. That's something to be considerate of. This is again a low performance point high Evo car. It also beats dyno about the same as what I have my car set up as, making this a competitive race that's maybe a little difficult for me. But let's see how it goes. It really depends on how he shifts his car, the exact setup of his car. There are a lot of factors we have to consider. That looks like an 11.0 run. Probably 10.9, 10.95 run. A little faster than I would like. But again, I bumped into a slightly quicker lobby. Rather than running against 11.2 opponents, I'm now running against 11.0 to 10.9 opponents. Well, I really wanted to challenge one of the bots, but okay, here we go. We'll take on the NSXR. This one has no stars, which means he's either, I don't know, he's gonna beat dyno. I mean, that's easy part with that car, but by doing so, he may be pushing both of us into a performance range we don't like to be in. So, okay, yeah, I barely lost that, but I don't really want to go any faster. I'm already pushing it at 10.905. He's doing 10.8s. Unfortunately, what he's doing is also killing his cars pretty quickly. Oh, bots is here. Let me take the bot. The bot's probably going to run 11.9 if I'm in the right lobby. Or 11.8 if it's really pushing into faster lobbies. That's the other issue with these cars. Coming into the lobby, running too quick, you're more than likely going to end up moving to a faster lobby. And even with the higher evo numbers, this car isn't that stable that I can get away with running these kind of crazy numbers because the computer will pick that up and say, hey, you're too fast for the lobby, goodbye. Right? 11.9 means 10.9 lobby, so it's pretty much on point where I think the cars are supposed to be. Okay, so that is this car, the SF90 Stradale, as someone on YouTube explained to me how to pronounce it. I'm probably still butchering it, but it's better than calling it a Stradale. So what's the final verdict? Well, if we were to tier these cars, let's say S tier being the top, A tier being excellent, B, C, D, F, it would be the lower tiers. This would fall in what I would consider a good or decent B tier car. There are much better cars that are A tier. There are also really phenomenal cars in the game that would be considered S tier. But this would probably fall under, say, a B tier, meaning it is competitive, but it's not going to knock out everybody in the lobby simply because it can't. The numbers are good, but it's missing some specialness in the sense of having really excellent lobby matchmaking or being able to beat Dyno by a pretty decent amount, like 3/10, 4/10. It's just not that good at either one of those things. So that is the SF90 review for live racing, no stage 6 setup. I hope this is useful to you. If you pull the car, you want to build it for live, this is a simple setup you can run. If you use my setup, just understand that there are other alternatives to this setup. I showed you earlier, you can run a higher final drive, sacrificing a little bit of dyno beating to get a little bit better performance at the same performance point. There are different ways to get this done, and therefore that is what makes tuning interesting in this game, because we can all reach a similar lobby in different ways, and then it's a question of which tune works better against other tunes in the same lobby. Alright, well, that concludes this video. I hope you liked the video. If you do, leave a like. If you like my channel and like this kind of videos, subscribe, hit the bell, and you get notified when I put up new ones. And as always, thank you for watching my videos. I'll catch you next time.